The voice of the intelligence is drowned out by the roar of fear. It is ignored by the voice of desire. It is contradicted by the voice of shame. It is biased by hate and extinguished by anger. Most of all, it is silenced by ignorance. Well, we do have a lot of stuff to pay attention to. We have a great many theatres of distraction, which are all put there on purpose, of course. And there's a lot of people that are sitting back thinking something wonderful is going to happen soon. There's going to be major change soon, mainly due to the Q operation. And the Q operation has been a very interesting thing to look at, because there is an awful lot of truth contained within the Q narrative. But there is also a lot of shifting of blame and disinformation and sidestepping and leading people to a certain direction that is contained within the Q narrative as well. In fact, one of the most revealing things about the Q narrative is that it tells people exactly what they want to hear. Essentially, what they're asking people to do is to believe in the state and allow the state to fix the problems created by the state. So people are just watching the theatrics and thinking that the world is going to change without them really having to participate in it. You see, that's what people aren't really seeing, and they're not taking into account when they're looking at all this. I mean, so many people are in fear of the system, and they're just sitting there clinging on to this hope that some politician is going to change things by mass arrests and eliminating certain people from the equation. But they're not looking at what the system is, where it's all been leading, what it was all about when it was begun, like when they introduced technology into the human experience with the introduction of television and the way it's just progressed from that point from 50, 60 years ago. It's all been leading to this point right now, this ultimate control system, this digitized AI algorithm-controlled social crediting system they want to roll out. It's always been leading towards that. Right since the beginning, it's always been about the control grid. It wasn't just about making things convenient for us and giving us this newfangled technology and television and all these great sparkly things. It was about leading us into a technological control grid, leading us into a technocracy. That is what it was always about, right since the beginning. Politicians, the Q narrative, nothing that is going on the political theatre is dealing with any of this. And you think they're not taking it this way? Well, they are, folks, because they're talking about it. And we've been talking about it for years, but now they're actually openly talking about it on the mainstream, which means they're already there, because if they weren't already there, then they wouldn't be talking about it. They always tell you, oh, we think this might be possible in 10 years. That means they can already do it. That's the way it goes. Play the left against the right, keep the theatre going, folks. That's what it's all about. And make people believe that mass arrests are going to save the world when the whole thing is simply a puppet show. And again, how can people seriously believe the state is going to save them from the state? How arresting anybody is going to make any difference in this? The only thing that's going to stop the smart grid and the whole control grid and the whole New World Order from coming online is if we stop participating in our own slavery. That's the only thing that's going to make a difference and lead the world to a better place. It's got to come from the hearts of the people. That's the only place real change can come from, because that's the only place it exists, is in the hearts of the people. But people are just too willing to sit back and be led to safety. People want safety, but they don't want to have to participate in creating that safety themselves. They want a politician to do it. Just send me the newsletter to tell me that I'm safe now and I'll feel safe. That's what it's always been about for so many people. And really, that's not the way to freedom, and that's not going to achieve anything, no matter what any politician does. Because politicians aren't the problem. The problem is the system itself. Politicians are just the figureheads of the puppet show that's put in place for us to shake our fist at and vote in and vote out or whatever. I mean, sure, they're the ones that write all the legislation that allows the corruption to happen, all the legislation we believe controls us, but ultimately they're just a puppet show. The system itself is the problem, and that system is the authoritarian-based control system, which is moving into digital and moving into AI-controlled. The politicians have just been there to control the puppet show and control the rabble to lead us into this technocracy. But once we're in there, they're irrelevant from that point, folks. The mental matrix that controls people is so thick and so profound and so well constructed that the reality is that people who believe a politician can actually save them from the matrix simply do not know what the matrix is. You know, people look at the system and they see it as something external to themselves that they need to push against and fight against. And the old adage of that which you fight against becomes more powerful is completely true. You don't need to fight against the system. All you need to do is to start believing in yourself, to rediscover yourself, rediscover your humanity. The problem is a loss of self. And this is with every single person out there. People don't understand the power they have. They don't understand the authority that exists, that controls them, is a fiction. It only exists in their mind because they've been taught to believe the system is real. They've been taught to look outside of themselves for that which exists inside. It's all due to your disconnection from who you are. That is the key to the whole thing, and it is due to this disconnect that would even cause you to begin to believe that someone has any authority over you to start with. You know, people don't pull away from it because they live in fear of reprisals from the police or from the government. But if you've built ties with the people around you, ties with your community, and you all stand together, there would be no reprisal from police or government. There can be none. Because if the entire race does it, if the entire country does it, then there's nothing the politicians can do. You know, their authority only exists because we believe it's there. And we fight externally, and the more we fight against it, the more it enslaves us. You don't have to fight against it, just don't comply with your own slavery. Just disconnect from it and look at your life and ask yourself a few basic questions about how you're living your life and how reality works. You know, why do you believe that people have a right of ownership over you? Why do you continue to follow all these rules and do all these things that you don't want to do and simply allow the system to go forward the way it is when you have a choice? You have a choice to do other things. Control we've become. Because what they're being fed is controlled information designed to close their minds into this matrix. Nobody has a clue what is going on in this world. Nobody has a clue what this reality is. Nobody has a clue what their history is, where we came from, or really where we're going in most cases. People don't like to be told that, but it's an unfortunate truth. We don't know where we came from. We have no clue what our history is. All we've got is snippets that have been given to us. All we've got is this system of control, and again, this entire system of control only exists within our minds. If we could just wake up and shake the sleep out of our eyes one morning, the whole world could change, and all it would really take, again, is for people to really comprehend who and what they are and just connect with themselves the way we once were. Everyone is stuck in this matrix, this belief that the system that enslaves them is actually real, and they have to do what they're told. And in attempting to understand how all this works, folks, it's important to understand that reality is a mirror. You know, if we live our lives in a state of fear, in a state of subservience, in a state of belief that authority is real, then that authority manifests just by matter of course. Really is a fiction, and it would be so easy for us to escape from this system if we would just collectively make the effort to do it.